When the First Lady of a megachurch reveals a tattoo, the world doesn't just gasp, it explodes. Shaunie Henderson, once a symbol of elegance and grace, has just shaken the very pillars of her faith community with a single photo. But the ink is only half the scandal. Her husband, Pastor Shaunie Henderson, has now broken his silence with a confession that stunned even their closest followers: "She doesn't listen to me." What's happening behind the pulpit, and behind closed doors? This isn't just about a tattoo. This is about power, rebellion, and a marriage under fire. While some fans applauded Shaunie Henderson's boldness, calling her unapologetically real, many within the Christian community weren't so forgiving. To them, her new tattoo wasn't just a personal expression, it was a disruption, a symbol that clashed with their expectations of what a pastor's wife should represent. But the true shock came not from ink, but from her husband. Pastor Shaunie Henderson, usually poised and diplomatic, made a public confession that stunned everyone: "She doesn't listen to me anymore." With that single line, the conversation shifted entirely. This isn't just about a tattoo, it's about power dynamics, identity, and a marriage possibly unraveling beneath the polished surface. Today, we dive deep into the growing storm behind the scenes, what church leaders are saying, how Shaunie's words have divided followers, and the explosive reactions still surfacing from people you'd never expect. This is no longer just a family matter, it's a public reckoning where faith, image, and control collide. Shaunie stood smiling, poised, radiant, and unbothered. But it wasn't her glow that set the internet on fire. It was the tattoo. Fresh, bold, and sitting defiantly on her shoulder, the ink needed no caption. The message was loud without words, and it rattled the Christian world. Social media erupted. Some hailed her as fierce and free, unafraid to express herself. But in church circles, it felt like a betrayal. The backlash was brutal. Christian influencers, conservative pastors, and lifelong followers questioned how a First Lady of global ministry could send such a statement. "This isn't just a tattoo," one critic tweeted. "It's rebellion disguised as empowerment." Others accused Shaunie of disrespecting her platform, warning that she was influencing a generation to choose image over integrity. But this storm isn't about just any woman. This is Shaunie Henderson, wife of Pastor Shaunie Henderson, a man whose spiritual leadership commands massive respect. And now, with his silence broken and tension rising, their public unity may be cracking under the weight of private unrest. Not long ago, their union was hailed as divine, a perfect blend of power, purpose, and public praise. Shaunie and Pastor Shaunie Henderson were seen as a modern-day kingdom couple, an inspiration to thousands. But that carefully crafted image shattered the moment she revealed a bold, unannounced tattoo. There was no context. No scripture. Just ink, loud and unapologetic. For some, it was a symbol of authenticity. Supporters rushed to defend her. "A tattoo doesn't make you less saved," they said. This judgment is exactly why people leave the church. But for seasoned pastors, elders, and long-standing believers, the problem ran deeper. It wasn't just the tattoo, it was the message it sent. To them, a First Lady isn't just a wife. She's a reflection of the pulpit itself. A visible tattoo, especially one worn without her husband's public support, felt like open defiance. It challenged not only the image of submission and grace they expected, but the spiritual authority of Pastor Shaunie himself. And just when the dust began to settle, things got even messier. When Pastor Shaunie Henderson finally broke his silence, it wasn't with fire and fury, but with something far heavier: honesty. "I didn't know she was getting it. She doesn't always listen to me." The words were brief, but they thundered across social media like a sermon no one saw coming. In an instant, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just about a tattoo anymore, it was about leadership, power, and the delicate balance of influence within their marriage. Was the pastor hurt? Was he blindsided? Or was this simply the raw truth of two strong, public figures clashing behind closed doors? Whatever the answer, one thing became painfully clear: this tattoo wasn't just a design, it was a declaration. A statement of independence. A sign of tension. And possibly, a warning flare from inside a marriage the world thought was unshakable. But before we assume too much, the real shock lies ahead, because Pastor Keon's full response reveals even more, and his congregation's reaction. Let's just say, not everyone stood behind their pastor. All eyes were on one person after days of rumors, opinion pieces, and heated Instagram arguments. Father Con Henderson. Not only did people want to know what he thought, they also wanted to know why he looked surprised and if this tattoo had anything to do with how their marriage worked. And when he did talk about it, he didn't sugarcoat it. During a short live Q&A after one of his talks, Pastor Con said something that made gospel and celebrity blogs go crazy: "We're both leaders, and we don't always agree. And the truth is that she doesn't always listen to me, but that doesn't make her rebellious, it just makes her real." Wow, that was a deep sentence. At first listen, it seemed like the man was trying to strike a balance between being honest and avoiding trouble, but to many, it sounded like anger. His tone wasn't angry, but it wasn't calm either. And his congregation's answer was split down the middle. Some people praised him for being honest when he said that marriage, even one based on faith, isn't perfect. This is what one fan said. "What real love looks like: two strong people going through their differences to find unity." Others were less forgiving than Keon, who took it in stride. Someone who had been going to church for a long time was heard saying, "It's not just about the tattoo, it's about spiritual order." The women watching her aren't the only ones who were talking. What does it say to them if she doesn't submit? Pastors from other churches started to speak out, some in a roundabout way and others directly. A preacher from Texas went viral when he said on live TV, "When the First Lady gets more attention for her writing than for praying for the enemy, who is already at work." More than 30,000 people shared that quote. Things got even worse from here on out. In private, people close to Pastor Con say he was caught off guard. The tattoo wasn't talked about ahead of time. Not a heads up, not a talk. The picture was posted while he was away giving a speech, and the internet knew about it before he did. Sources say Con felt slighted not because of the ink itself but because of the time it happened. They were trying hard to keep the image of their ministry as progressive while still honoring tradition. This tipped the balance. But Con tried to steady the ship even though there was an uproar. He told the people in charge, "We're not breaking, we're bending. It's not a secret. This is people, and I'm going to keep spreading the truth like I always have." The church was still busy. Some women in the church started to doubt Shaunie's job as First Lady behind the scenes. They thought she cared more about how she looked than how she affected people. Critics pointed out that her brand deals, TV spots, and glamorous fashion posts were very different from the typical First Lady image. Others strongly defended her, saying, "She never claimed to be perfect. She's relatable. She's changing. And frankly, she's allowed to be herself." At the heart of it all was a man, husband, pastor, leader, trying to keep his cool as his personal life turned into a public battleground. The more he talked, the more people asked, is this really about a tattoo, or is this a battle between the modern church and old standards of the church? Because while some people yell rudeness, others whisper freedom, and in the next part, we'll go into that fight, looking at how Shaunie's past as a reality TV star is now at odds with her image as First Lady and why that conflict is making the church more divided than anyone thought possible. Not another person will say what they are going to say. We need to take a step back to really understand this firestorm. She was Shaunie before she became one. Henderson was Shaunie O'Neill's executive producer, businessman, and reality TV power player. She was also the First Lady of the Lighthouse Church. She built a media empire on her own terms. She is best known for creating and acting in Basketball Wives. She was smart, clever, and brave without shame. She was also in charge of one of the most controversial cable TV shows for many years. That show wasn't just about flash and glam. It brought attention to mess, drama, fights, shade, and other things that churches usually try to avoid. But Shaunie owned it. She leaned into it and Made a lot of money doing it. So when she went from reality TV to First Lady on VH1 to Sunday service, not everyone made the jump with her. Many people in the church world never really accepted her. Deep down, they were watching, ready to say, "See, she's not built for this." They cheered at her wedding. That tattoo picture was the spark they were waiting for. Let's be honest, the church has a long history of boxing women in, especially first ladies. The rules aren't said out loud. Keep quiet and help out. Be humble. Don't shine brighter than the priest, and don't have a history of public divorces and reality TV fights. All of that was broken by Shaunie. She was brave, beautiful, and already marked when she walked into the church. Her style is high-end, her Instagram is well-curated, her speech is strong, and you can't miss her. But instead of, many church conservatives started calling her a distraction as soon as they saw how much power she had. This is where things get messy again. After the tattoo went public, some church critics found old videos of basketball wives and used them to say that Shaunie was never meant to be First Lady. One post that went popular had an old video of Shaunie getting into a fight on reality TV with the words, "And this is who's leading young women in the church now, Lord help us." But her fans clapped back hard. "She's changing," wrote one fan on Twitter. That was her then. You guys love a story as long as it has a woman who won't hold back to make you feel good. Meanwhile, Shaunie didn't answer right away. She didn't say anything, so the media could talk about it and the complaints could grow. But silence doesn't mean giving up. People who know her well say that Shaunie knew the tattoo would make people talk, but she didn't expect the harsh religious criticism that came after. It hurt her more than she let on. Then there's a twist of feeling. It is said that Shaunie told a friend in private, "That's not my goal, I just want to be real. But I get the impression that the church wants me to be a ghost. I can't live like that. I saw but didn't hear. I smiled but didn't lead." That honest openness shows the deeper strain at play. This isn't just a story about ink, it's a clash of cultures and generations. The story is about a first lady who doesn't want to be the way people think they should be and a church that can't accept that God might use someone with a bad reputation. This is an old argument. Can a woman with a past still lead from the pulpit, or should she erase herself to fit in? As the debate heats up, more people are joining the talk. The Shaunie versus the church scandal is now getting attention from some big names inside and outside the church. Next, we'll talk about how celebrities have reacted, how preachers are now standing up for her, and, most surprisingly, what spiritual message Shaunie plans to send in response to it all. The whole will change after this part. What's going as the stir over Shaunie Henderson's tattoo continued to make news and spark church arguments, something interesting started to happen. There was a small but strong split between public praise and private whispers. At first glance, Shaunie seemed to be getting a lot of support. Gospel artists, progressive preachers, and even mainstream celebrities started to like, comment on, and share her content, with many of them writing encouraging things like, "Be true to yourself. Real life over religion. The church needs real people like you." One of the first well-known people to back her faith leaders have said mean things about Megan Good before. Megan put something on her story. In 2025, Shaunie is changing what a woman who fears God looks like. Don't try to control her growth. Then gospel singer Corin Hawthorne backed them up by writing under a fan post, "There's nothing wrong with tattoos. Let's not talk about looks, but about character." Even artists who don't deal with religion, like Lala Anthony and Tamar Braxton, brought up the issue again. Used hashtags like #FreedomOfFaith and #LeatherLife to subtly support Shaunie behind the scenes. Things weren't so pretty, even though the support online made people feel strong. Sources in the church leadership, including some pastors connected to Khan's network, said they were very worried about Shaunie's impact on younger women. A private note that was passed around pastors said, "If she can't show the spiritual discipline that is expected of a first lady, her platform may need to be rethought." That's Their eyes are on her and they're ready to act. There were even rumors that she might not be able to talk at all at upcoming church-related women's conferences because of concerns that her fame would take away from the gospel message. Some of the criticism wasn't just professional, it got personal. Anonymous accounts started sending Shaunie harsh, biblically based direct messages criticizing her faith, her modesty, and even her marriage. A woman who stands up to her husband in public is not following God's plan, one message said. Someone else said, "First Lady, change your ways before God turns off the lights in your house." But this is crazy, Shaunie didn't get back at her. She didn't make a long speech or post a video of herself crying. She didn't tweet a vague quote to poke fun at her critics. Instead, she's allegedly working on something even bigger, a video message that is part testimony and part sermon that she will send directly to her critics, her followers, and the church. The writing is said to be called, "The Ink Does Not Take Away My Gift." Wow, think about that for a second. It is said that this spiritual reaction will be shown for the first time on her YouTube channel and shared on the Lighthouse Church's platforms. But not everyone in the church's leadership is happy about that either. Some are afraid it will make things worse, while others think it could be the big moment the church needs. What about Pastor Khan? He hasn't said anything public about the video project yet, and his silence tells us a lot. It seems to say that even between husband and wife, there may still be arguments that aren't said. Are they truly on the same page, or is this the start of a public split in their ministry? The truth is that everyone is watching. Shaunie is in the middle of a storm right now, with religious tradition on one side and cultural freedom on the other. What she does next will affect not only her role as First Lady but also how churches around the world treat women like her. But this is no longer just about Shaunie. Finally, we'll talk about how this scandal has led to a bigger fight between traditional church culture and modern Christian expression, as well as how this tattoo may have shown a truth that many churches are still too scared to say out loud. This controversy, this unmarried tattoo, has emerged as a lot more than a fashion preference or non-public choice. It's end up a symbol of something deeper, something uncooked, and something the contemporary church cannot come up with the money for to disregard due to the fact whether we admit it or not. The church is split, and now not just over Shaunie Henderson's tattoo, however, over the whole thing. She's a lady who got here from a public past built on fact, television, personal evolution, and an unapologetic identity, and then stepped right into a world in which silence, submission, and lifestyle are nonetheless silently anticipated of first ladies. And while she showed that tattoo, she unknowingly put a replicate up to the body of Christ to reflect that displays this uncomfortable fact. We say we want authenticity. However, we still punish human beings for being real. We hold forth grace, however we still withhold it from people who do not. In shape our mildew we reward memories, but simplest if they come in tender polished packages. And Shaunie, she's not polished, she's refined via hearth, she's still in procedure, and that's exactly what makes her tale so effective. However, her presence, her unapologetic manner of displaying up has now drawn a line in the sand between the vintage guard and the brand new wave. On one side are the traditionalists, folks that believe ministry has a sacred photo to uphold, that leadership have to be reverent, quiet, covered, and always aligned with a strict interpretation of holiness. On the other side are the contemporary believers. Individuals who recognize God is shifting in unconventional ways, that tattoos don't cancel callings, that ladies do not should cut back to be religious, that the energy of a sworn statement is not erased by means of ink, it's every so often highlighted through it and proper. Now church buildings throughout the United States are being compelled to pick out grace or gatekeeping, authenticity or appearance, dating or guidelines. What is going on with Shaunie isn't isolated, it is taking place anywhere. Girls are being driven out of pulpits for dressing too ambitious, young leaders are being silenced for speak me too raw, married couples in ministry are being compelled to perform perfection instead of living sincere God-led growth. But the church wonders why so many are leaving, why the more youthful technology is disconnecting, why humans are tired of displaying up to an area that welcomes their worship however critiques their walk. Shaunie's tattoo is simply the tip of the iceberg. It revealed what's usually been boiling underneath the floor. A spiritual double well known due to the fact if God can use murderers, liars, prostitutes, and tax collectors, If he can anoint David after his darkest fall, if he can call Peter knowing his betrayal turned into coming, then who are we to mention a tattoo disqualifies someone from leading, and extra importantly who are we to name out what we in no way created? Right, here's the fact: the kingdom is converting. The next flow of God won't seem like what we are used to. It might come with pierced ears, loud voices and sure tattooed shoulders, but the oil will still go with the flow, and the gospel will nonetheless pass ahead. Shaunie Henderson's ink can also have shaken the church, however perhaps simply maybe it is the shake-up we all wanted. Now we need to pay attention from you. Do you trust Shaunie? Become incorrect for revealing her tattoo as a primary woman? Became Pastor Con Henderson proper to express that she does not concentrate to me, or was that a deeper crack in their public photo? And most of all, is it time for the church to subsequently evolve beyond those cosmetic battles? Drop your thoughts inside the feedback. We want to hear your voice. This is not only a dialogue, it is a real moment in subculture and faith colliding. If this video challenged your angle, inspired your mind, or made you rethink how we decide others in the name of holiness, hit that like button, subscribe for extra facts, see targeted statement, and share this video with a person nonetheless trapped in legalism disguised as righteousness, because the sector is looking and the way we deal with this second matters.